Kevin Wolthausen. He's done a terrific job with our D-line, and he's a very accomplished coach. He knows what he's talking about, and I watched him for the last couple of years, and I'll tell you, he does a great job. Let's give him a great round of applause.
Well, gentlemen, it's an honor to be here and to represent Arizona State University. And really the way I see this thing going is I'm going to go through basically what I do on a day-to-day basis, individual drills, things like that as far as run technique, and then try to get into some pass rush if time permits, that we do here, as I said, on an everyday basis. Okay? So, you know, we play with 4 defensive linemen up front, 2 tackles. We have an end who's on the strong side. We have an end who's on the weak side. But basically all positions we coach very, very similarly as far as stance, techniques, things like that. So when I talk to one, I'm basically talking to all 4 positions. The first thing I think that is most critical in probably in every position, but the most critical thing for a defensive lineman is being in the proper stance that allows you to do whatever it is you're asking that position to do. All right, now here, you know, we will try to get our guys in a stance that allows them to be able to be real physical versus the run at the point of attack, to be able to move laterally if we have some form of line movement on or a pass rush game, or also be able to get upfield in a hurry versus versus a pass set by the offensive lineman. So in order to do that, we don't want to change our stance on everything that we do. So we try to keep the stance similar in all situations and maybe change how we, get more weight forward in longer yard situations or more balance versus the run. But the key thing is we are an attacking front but reacting to the blocks that we get. So it's not like we close our eyes and just run upfield. So we have to be able to get off, vary the length of our first step based on the block that we get, upfield versus pass, be able to redirect versus run, all those things. That's the first thing I'll start off with is stance and our get-off drills and some redirection drills. So if I can get, just stay on this one side, so you're both working out of a right-handed stance. Rock, you start in a 3, and David, you're kind of out there in a 5. Now, stance-wise, if you watch both guys, go ahead and get down here for a minute. You'll notice what we've done here is we don't really work for a big stagger out of our stance. We want approximately about a heel-toe relationship or a middle of the other foot relationship. You notice that, again, like, Rock, put your foot back further. Go ahead, David, put your foot back further. This kind of was a big fad for a while to get that foot way back there. Everybody thought you could get off further, but, we got to get that first step in the ground in a hurry, and if that foot is further back, it's got to travel further just to get upfield. Now, if we have that foot up a little closer, now that first step can get in the ground quicker. We can travel up the field further. We can do all those things from that stance. Plus, if we're doing any type of lateral movement, like let's say we're running an inside movement with our tackle here, he now can take a good first step, inside step, without having to change his stance from, say, a big, long, staggered one. Okay, so that's really kind of the basis for why we try to line in a similar-looking stance every time that the ball is ready to be snapped. All right, the first thing, and we start this every day in our warm-up, and what we'll do is have Rock, you go first, and David, you go after him, okay, is we just start off in a simple get-off drill. We have cones here right now, which is fine. Preferably what we normally do is we'll have actual squares painted on the grass in order to stimulate offensive linemen. And that way you don't have to mess with cones every day. You can have them painted in a couple different spots so you don't wear out your grass in one spot all the time. And that way you're not always having to get cones set up and move cones around and do all those things. So now, again, stance, and we'll just get off straight ahead. Key, we use a green ball, try to work on focus of his eyes and practice the line on the tip of the ball. All right, again, watch his first step. Doesn't gain a whole lot of ground with that first step, but gets in the ground quick, keeping his pad level down. Here we go, sit. Okay, here we go. Again, really emphasizing getting that first step in the ground. Sit. Okay, good. Again, more just of a warm-up deal. I mean, just getting off straight ahead. So, well, that's easy. Well, it's something that you do on every snap. All right, so in order to get them to do it right every snap, you got to train it. So again, it's not a very big first step. That first step we term a quick step. All right, and a lot of it's based on the offensive lineman. So if Sean's lined up here in what we call a 3 technique, and I'm the offensive guard, and I'm down the stance, and he's down, All right, and I give them what we call a high hat. Now we'd like that foot to travel further upfield to close the distance and gain ground and get ready to get into a pass rush move. All right, now he's down in the stance, and we get what we call a low hat. We want that foot in the ground quicker so he can now get to his second step and react to the block. So as far as saying we want to take a 6-inch step, or we want to take a 12-inch step, really what we term it is a quick step. We want to get that foot in the ground as quick as possible so I can then get to my second step, my third and fourth, you know, as far as your footwork is concerned. So we don't give them a distance. What we tell them, we want that foot in the ground quick, and it's based off what the offensive lineman's doing. All right? So again, we progress from that. So we try to key the football. All right, tip of the ball, we give them a cadence, we move it around. We don't want them getting used to getting off on sound. All right, red 5, sit, hut, hut, hut. Okay? So again, it's just a matter of working on get off, working on getting off on movement of the ball. The next thing that we progress to, which is really a little more realistic in our scheme of defense, is what we call get off and redirect. We don't use offensive linemen yet. What we're trying to simulate is they are keying, in essence, in their mind, the screws in the helmet of the offensive lineman, all right, along with movement. As far as what their key for movement, though, becomes me. So I'll be standing back here. If I can have a guy snap the ball, I'll do that. If not, then I use myself standing back here, and I'll move my hands as far as movement of the football. They will get off just like they did there, straight ahead. I will then give them a movement, whether it's this way for them to plant, redirect, and run that direction, okay? Or I'd give them this movement and give them a flash this way, and now they're redirecting back that way, all right? The next thing is they may come straight ahead, and I'll give them a reaction this way, where, for example, it was a draw play, they're getting upfield, now they got to plant, redirect, and come back out, okay, the same way they went in. It's a term we'll use. And all those movements, what we're trying to get developed is just patterns of how their feet will work in a full-speed situation. If I want these guys to redirect, say, where we're both getting reach blocks, balls going outside, and I want them to redirect that way, we want them to be able to redirect in a straight line down this way. Okay, a term we'll use here is we do not want fish hooks, okay? For example, if they're getting upfield, now the ball's going this way, and all of a sudden it's one of these shots. Okay, just like the barb on a fish hook goes that way. Everything needs to be in square angles. They're going to go about half speed here, but all right, so it'd be just like this. Red 5, sit, hut, hut, boom, and here, and boom. They want to plant and open up that way. Sit, hut, boom, and they get out that way, okay? So they're nice and simple, and just kind of get them warmed up. The idea is we want to be able to, as that foot travels in the ground, all right, now ball's going this way. Obviously, that second step has got to gain ground that way, plant that foot, turn, and run. We're not really working right now as far as block reaction, staying square, all that. It's really more off of, say, more of an upfield move where it's a pass situation. We're getting upfield, now we've got to redirect. Okay, that's really what we're trying to train here. It's kind of a good warm-up drill. The next one would be a draw reaction, okay, where now they would start upfield, plant, and come back out, okay, kind of in the same direction. You know, as a guy's rushing upfield, he gets the draw. The worst thing they can do now is ball's in there for them to run around and try to chase it this way. Have no chance to make the play. What we want them to do is, as they come upfield, they recognize the draw, whatever may be the tip, we want them now to come back out here and let that draw play come back to them. Okay, so they're not running around the block, they're redirecting and coming back out the way they went in. So, boom, back out, okay, just like that. Sit, here, okay, just like that. So again, we want them aggressive, we want them getting them upfield. We don't want them sitting on the line of scrimmage having to guess what's going on, all right? But they also have to be able to train their body, train their feet, train their eyes to react to what they see as they're moving. So again, the block this way could be simulating a reach where they're going that way. If it would be that direction, scoop, cut off, whatever it may be for this alignment. The other one will be draw. Third one I won't do with this group, but I can actually drop back as a quarterback. They rush the passer. Now I plant and throw. We want them to plant, redirect, and run back out as they would to a ball, again, eliminating fish hooks as best we can. All right, that would be the first warm-up deal. The next thing, we'll do this more in the off-season. Again, this is something you can paint on the ground. It's anything to train patterns of how their feet work in what we call that contact zone between the tackles. All right, with a lot of stuff going on, they get hit from all angles. We want their feet to be in the position of contact. Okay, so we call it contact shuffle. Where if I'm a defensive lineman and I want to move that direction, I want to be able to lead step with the foot in that direction. Okay, or if it's the other way, I want to be able to step. It's really a step and replace type of footwork. Where if a defensive lineman gets to a situation where his feet ever get crossed over in that contact zone and gets hit, your chances of survival are pretty slim. Okay, or if I get my feet too close together and I get hit, I really have no chance. So I'm always working to keep my feet, when I'm in that contact zone, with a relationship that I can take blockers on, whether it's here, wherever it may be, where my feet are in great position to take a blocker on. So in order to do that, we do this in the off season. We'll do it some during camp. We continue to do it during the season where we'll get a ladder or whatever we want to do. We like to put things on the ground. We don't want to have big step over bags because in the course of a game, other than stepping over body, they're really not doing that very often. Okay? We don't want their feet that far from the ground because now they can't redirect themselves. We want their feet back in the ground as quick as they can be. Okay, we'll have them start. They face me. And really what we want to make sure that he would do is just take one step. You just lead and follow, lead and follow, lead and follow. So he's keeping himself in good position all the way down. Okay, good. Set, and again, I try to always get him to start on some form of movement. In this case, it's my hand. Sit. All right, good. Come back. Now, the thing we try to eliminate is, say this. He lines up in there and say, well, that's a real easy thing to do. Well, a lot of times what some guys will do, the first thing is we want them to go that direction, but they'll step with that foot first. And as you see now, all of a sudden, everything gets screwed up with their feet. They're always too close together. Okay, so it's just a matter of training that guy. If you're a baseball player and you're taking a lead off first base, they say this now, I guess, in physics, where you can travel more distance by crossing over and then going. Well, that's fine because that guy's not getting hit by a 300-pound offensive lineman. So, we may be able to get there quicker, but you certainly don't want to be able to be in a position like this in that contact zone. So they want to be able to lead and follow. We'll do patterns that way. The next thing we might do is then have them start here. All right, sit. Up. He's here, he's here, he's here. Then I'll have him come back. And again, the key thing there is as he starts down and then wants to come back, okay, just kind of walk down. Okay, now stop. As he comes back now, yeah, he wants to lead again with that near foot in that direction. So if he's going one direction, now all of a sudden it has to come back. I don't want him then to bring that foot. Now all of a sudden he loses his base. It may only be for an instant, but that might be the instant he gets hit. Okay? So it's more of a mirror type drill. So the same deal we did, we start him off, we'll move him this way. Now he has to come back, and again, that's good. Okay? So we'll work patterns like that. And you can really make up anything. You can have them run straight ahead. It's almost like the ropes. You guys use running ropes, right? The one that we use now, this is kind of an older one, has two things to it, and they can step over them. Okay, you can bring them out, bring them back. It's the same idea, except we put it on the ground. Okay, again, we want to keep their feet close to the ground because that's where they play. There's not many of them have to play with their feet up here. Okay, so we want them down in here where they can plant, redirect. If they're coming this way, I want to open that way. Whatever it may be, they are training their feet to work the way they want them to work in a full speed situation. Okay? So again, we'll start off with get off, we'll redirect, we'll work this. The third thing we'll go to in the form of a warm-up deal is what we call our hoops. Now, a lot of people have started using these now. Okay, I certainly didn't invent them, so I'm not taking the credit for that, but I certainly use them. What we'll do is, in the course of a football play, okay, if you put videotape on and watch a defensive lineman go through a play, how many times rushing the passer or getting off a block, do you see him in a situation where his body is lean and he's having to run off the edge of a block? Okay, you see it a lot in pass rush. Okay, You'll see them getting off a block versus the run. Well, their body is in some form of a lean, and they've got to be going 500 miles an hour. All right, and I'm not sure how to train that other than this right here. And you can set up a lot of different patterns. You can run around a single hoop. You can do a figure 8 around it. You can get more than 2, and you can run all different things where their body is having to run and lean and turn, okay, and keep their feet underneath them, not slip, fall, do all those things. So again, it may look like the dumbest thing in the world, but it's really been successful for us. And we watch video on our guys, you see it all the time. Where they're coming off a block, there's that lean, they keep their feet, they're able to come off the edge and go make a play. All right, and it's directly related, I think, to training that body to react in that position. Now, we'll add stuff to this, you know, because again, you don't have time in individual drills and practice to just, you know, individually do that or individually do that all the time. We'll try to do more than one thing at once. So as we do this drill, we'll add a little pass rush to it or handwork to it. You know, whereas they come around the hoop, I'll sit here, and I would recommend if you do this that you use some kind of protection on your arm, because these guys can injure you a few ways. They've tried in the past. But as they'll run around, just kind of jog, easy jog. I'll put this out. You know, I'm just working on the timing of getting that hand knocked down. Again, like in a pass rush move. You know, where the hands and feet are working together, where they got to get that hand knocked down and continue to run. All right, and what we'll do is we'll start them off again. They'll be down in a stance. I just want you guys to go about half speed, okay? They're down in a stance, but I'll have them here, and I'll be standing here, drop my hands again. That's the movement key, and then they'll start. All right, if you're by yourself doing it, then you got to jump in and kind of act this way. But we'll start here. Okay, ready? Sit. They'll go, and then I'll kind of walk in again. They'll be here. Want to get that hit, and then maybe here. All right, and maybe here. Okay, so again, as they're running around, they're training themselves to run with their bodies in that good position. All right, now, if you'll notice, they're running leaning one way, and they got to turn and sprint. It's kind of in the course of a play, whereas you're coming off a block, you may have to come off here, and now all of a sudden you get an opportunity to sprint, and now here's another thing where you got to lean. You know, so they're learning in this drill to be able to run and lean and twist and turn and do all the things they have to do through the course of a play. All right, so again, I'll have them out here, be set, as they go down, pick it up just a little bit. Okay, he knocks it down, here, okay, maybe here. Again, pumping their arms, trying to keep their eyes up. Again, these guys aren't real warmed up, so I don't have them going full speed, but this can be a drill. I mean, they are running as hard as they can run. Okay, trying to keep their eyes up, their arms pumping, they're leaning, trying to stay as close to the hoops as they can as they run around. All right, again, I had them doing a figure 8, which kind of accommodates all the moves, but you could have them run around just a single hoop. Okay, or you said you can get more than 2 and have them, you know, have one guy be the rabbit and the other guy chase him. And again, it's just kind of working on different movement things. It's a great warm-up drill, but it also is something that occurs on every snap. All right, so you're not wasting time just doing kind of a deal like that. After we get going on those things, then we kind of get ourselves warmed up. We get going. We've worked on stance. We've worked on get off. We've worked on some redirection things, and now we'll get over and work on our what we call versus run, our jam technique. So we'll move over here to the sled. The first thing we try to do in what we call, again, versus the run, is what we call jam technique. Okay, we're trying to get in a position, again, we're getting what we term a low hat, which is some form of run block, okay, where the guy is blocking me. Could end up being a different form of a combination block, but basically it's a block where the offensive lineman's coming off, trying to knock us off the football. And for our ability to counter that, we want to be able to get our hands on the inside position of the offensive lineman. You know, we want to try to get them as tight as we can get them on the offensive man, inside of his hands, about on that chest plate, inside part. Say if the numbers are here, right in that area. Again, if you'll notice, his elbows are in and his thumbs are up. Elbows are in and thumbs are up. If your pads are too wide, you know, because again, we don't want to train our hands too wide, we'll just have them move their hands inside But again, you're training their hands at a little tighter position than maybe they would end up in the course of a game. The wider you train their hands, the wider they'll be in a full contact drill. We want their hands in as close as we can get them. Again, just kind of fit it up in there again. And then what we'll train in this drill, we just call it a quick hands drill. So they'll start on their knees. They'll put their hands down either on their knees or slightly on the ground. Again, we'll have some form of movement, whether a ball, my foot, whatever it may be. Sit. Okay, good. Now, if you'll notice, when he made contact, he rolled his hips, but he didn't lock his hips out. We really only want to bring our hips through when we're rushing the passer or we're making a tackle. If he rolls his hips, what's the first thing happen when he rolls his hips? His shoulders come up. You get closer to the bag. The closer you are to the bag, that simulates closer you'd be to the offensive blocker. The higher your shoulders get here, the higher you be against that block. So versus the run, we want to keep our hips and feet back. And to train it as far as just working the placement of our hands and quick hands coming out of our stance, we don't want them to roll their hips in this drill. Now that may sound like it's anti-everything that's been taught. They'll snap their hips and get some power from their hips, which is where you get most of your power, but we don't want them rolling their hips and again getting too high in the air or getting too close to the offensive blocker. Okay? All right, so we're here. Sit. Okay, one more time. Then we'll maybe try to go quick, so they'll set and then reset again. Sit, hip. Okay, again. Sit. Hip. Sit. Hip. Okay. So the idea is, you can do it as fast as you feel you can get it done. And all you're doing is train their hands coming out of their stance, getting their hands on them as quick as you possibly can. All right, now, then we'll work a two-step drill. All right, where we're training them now out of a stance. We want them to take that first attack step, their second step, and ended up in a locked-out position. Stance, good flat back. We want to have our hand on that up knee to push off and give us some extra momentum. Sit. Okay. So again, try to keep your hips and feet just a little bit further back. Sit. Okay, if you'll notice now with Dave, go ahead, Rock, you step up and see if he does the same thing. Okay, sit, get down. Sit. Okay. Again, make sure you step with that inside foot now. Don't get your feet too staggered. Sit. There, good. Okay. What Dave did and what Sean did was just a hair different as far as where their face went. They both were looking at the same thing. Dave's face made contact here where Sean's didn't. Now, what really happens on the course of a play, and I heard Coach Gazzetto mention it, is a lot of times when you are facing the live body, your face does make contact. Okay, and that may be a big point as far as getting separation. You don't want to leave it in there though if it does. Okay. Not necessarily bad if it gets in there, but if you leave it in there, now you can no longer see. If you really, all we're working on is that first step and then the follow-through. Okay? First step and then the follow-through. Always trying to get to the second step. The worst thing you can see, and of course, if a guy taking on a blocker, he takes one really nice, good step. Boom, that foot's in the ground. He makes contact with the offensive blocker, and now his feet stop. Okay? He's got no chance. He wants to get that foot in the ground, take a second step. Then he wants to take another step and that second step. So it's in patterns of two. He's always moving his feet. So really try to train that. Then we start working on some of our escape moves, okay, off of this same drill. So they would make contact on the sled, try to get it locked out. Then I would have them escape. And the first move we'd work on is just a rip escape, simulating that the ball, they're right in position now to make a tackle. Blocker. Okay, we want them to be able to rip, to be able to keep their pads down, to shoot their, so they're right in position now to make a tackle. Should you rip, escape, sit, get off, just like that. Okay, again, hit, just sit, boom, just like that. Again, it's not, we're not necessarily in this drill, maybe train, we wouldn't pick it up a little bit during the course of a regular season, but right now we're just kind of having them show you in a little slower fashion of making contact where we would end up locking the sled out in a normal deal. All right, the next thing, that was just kind of an example of our rip escape when the ball's right behind it. And the first thing is they got to defeat the blocker and then get off and make the play. The second thing we want to do is they're going to now take the blocker on to simulate more of an outside play. The ball is clearly outside of the defender. if they were to rip on that escape to try to go make the play, they would end up slightly upfield, now having to turn and run, and they'd have no chance to get there more than likely. If the ball is outside, the second escape move we'll work on is what we call a crossover escape. Okay? Or again, if Sean's locked out on me and I'm the offensive blocker, he now wants to open his hips, cross over with the inside, knock my arm off, and open his hips and now be able to run inside out to the football. Okay? So we'll train that here. We'll hook it off, jam the sled, open now, and run outside. All right, see it? No. Okay, just like that. Again, it's just, you're not saying, well, boy, they're not really hitting it. Well, that's not the idea that we're trying to get done right now. It's just kind of contact with the hands, open and go. See it? Boom, just like that. So you, in a simple deal, you've worked on quick hands, you've worked on the two steps, now you're working on the actual hitting, getting off. Okay? Now, the next thing we'll do to kind of put that all in perspective, we will fit them up just like we did, okay? Because, again, the sled doesn't move, right? I mean, it's kind of a stationary deal. Most blockers are moving somehow. So we kind of train the hands, train the feet, all that on the sled, and then we work to an offensive blocker. So what we'll do is we'll fit the defender up as he's come out of his stance in a good fit position on the offensive blocker. We want the offensive man to kind of give him the target. He'll put his hands on his triceps, and really what we work on now is simulating, say, the start of a reach block where he's got this gap here, and we want to work fighting pressure to the outside. Just kind of watch again. It's that contact shuffle. He's come out of his stance. His first foot step up, be with that foot and following. Okay, come back. At the same time, you'll notice him post with the outside arm, and he should pull with the inside arm. The offensive blocker is trying to get his hips and shoulders turned to the outside, and we've got to be able to counter that. Okay? Sit. Hup. Just like that. Good. Okay, so we just kind of work that drill. I have the cone there to kind of simulate. We don't want to stay on the block very long. Okay, so the next part of it would be now we want you just to escape. Escape with a rip move. Sit. Hup. He's here. Get off. Boom. Just like that. Same type of deal now we can do. We can work our crossover escape move. Okay, so same type of deal. Sit. Hup. Go. All right. Same idea. So what we've done is we've kind of taken it from the sled, from the hand placement now to a body. We haven't really come out and beat each other up, done any of those. We're really just training their body, their hands, their feet, their reactions the way we want them when we get into full speed collision type of drills. Okay? You can do the same thing. Say, for example, we now have this outside gap to the right. We're now going to get, say, a cutoff or the start of a scoop inside, and we want to stay right in the crack of the neck of the defensive player. So again, now we'll work the inside part of it and jam with the inside hand. We won't really get off the block. We'll just squeeze his body into the hole. All right, sit. Hup. Okay, Dave, don't get across his face yet. Okay, just stay on the back side. You got this gap right here. Sit. Hup. Okay, again, just like that. So again, you're just working against each other, trying to get your body in a position to take the proper gap that you have to control. All right, from all these drills, then we can put it into regular one-on-one or two-on-one or three-on-one or five-on-five or whatever type of drills you want to get into at that time to now really put the whole thing together as far as stance, getting off, where your hands need to be against a live body, and then finishing it with drills like this. Okay? So that's kind of, in a nutshell, a real quick deal that we'll do as far as a lot of our run technique. I want to leave some time left to go over the basis of some of our pass rush stuff. All right, again, versus the run, what you saw us doing a lot of was our hands inside and jamming and fighting pressure. As a pass rusher, everything is really the opposite. When you recognize a pass set from the offensive lineman or you're anticipating pass, now you want to work the outside edges of the blocker. Okay? The first thing we'll really emphasize is we call this kind of our gun and knife drill, and it may not be a good term to use anymore these days, but what you're trying to do is simulate, again, as an offensive blocker, he's trying to get his hands in position to pass set on you. You're trying to get that hand knocked out of the way. You know, it's not very often anymore with the offensive lineman you face with those big long arms that you're able to do a nice job of grabbing a jersey or doing something here and doing all those things. By the time you reach to grab here, he's got your chest and you're done. So our big emphasis now is we want to get that hand knocked down, whether we get the wrist, whether we get the elbow, or we get the shoulder. Okay, the idea is working same arm and same leg, working together, whether I'm here, whether I'm here. Okay? So to start off on that drill, what the offensive guy will do is just simulate hands. Where one hand will come up, or the other hand will come up, and as the defensive player, you now want to lead and step and slap that hand and pin it into that offensive player's body. Okay? Stay right there. Again there. 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 Now, as you'll notice what he did each time. As he stepped to slap, that foot also stepped. He gained ground with that foot, same arm, same leg, working together. So he's gained ground to be able to then go into whatever move we're working on next. Okay? Same thing if he went the other way. Okay? Watch where his head goes. To the outside. All right? A lot of times a guy, you know, hopefully not very often, but he'll step and slap and leave his head right down the middle, and now all of a sudden, you know, he's got this body he's got to go through. You've got to get your body past his body in kind of in a real simplified sense. You know, it's just like a ball carrier. You probably play a lot longer by not running a guy over as you can by running around him. Same thing in rushing the passer. You want to get around that blocker as quick and as fast as you can. So these are some of the drills we've said, try to just train that initial part. I've already come out of my stance, now I'm getting into my footwork stuff. Sit up. Okay, keep going. He's working on the movement of the offensive guy. All right, good. Now, the next thing that we'll get, and I've been sworn to by offensive line coaches that they don't practice this, but it certainly happens to us a lot in the course of a game when you get the hand somewhere about the throat of a defensive player. Now, they swear they don't teach that, but boy, you sure see it a lot. So if you get it, you have to have some way to defend that. Okay, so again, the gun part of it is here, all right, where I'm trying to knock that hand out of the way and actually turn my body to get by him. The idea being if he fires the gun and you're knocking that hand out of the way, but you don't turn your body, you still may get hit. All right, where if I knock that thing out of the way here now that bull's got a chance to travel on, and now I got a chance to survive and get to the next guy I got to get to. The next thing now, if I get a hand up high, okay, in throat, face area, rather than knock it in, I now want to lift it out. It's kind of, you know, simulate if a guy's coming here with a knife, you now want to block it, lift it, and the same footwork action. Same idea. Now the idea is you want to grab with the fingers and, you know, the index finger and that thumb and get that wrist. Doesn't take a lot of strength. You're just trying to knock it out of the way. Use his momentum against him. Sit. Okay, good. Good. There. And, you know, got to be a good off-season deal. They partner up and they're just, you know, they're just working this, working this. The next phase of it, obviously, that's not the only part of rushing the passer. The next drill we'll do is what we call our rub drill. Okay? We'll work two guys against each other. You know, you're just teaching the basics of, say, a rip move. What we try to get done is he's already got to that position. We just worked that drill. Now we're working the finish part of it. Okay, we want to again be able to bring that inside leg through, that inside arm up. And the idea is in a rip move, we want to get to a position where it's not the arm that does the action. It's the shoulder, it's the hip, it's the leg, where he now shoots that hip through and is now able to continue on by the offensive blocker. You know, when people think about rip, sometimes they think I'm going to rip with that arm. Well, I have no leverage there. I got a lot more leverage now here, okay, with that whole body. So we'll just fit them up, okay? Again, try to take some of the contact out. And all he'll do, the offensive guy will sit there and he'll kind of back up with him and open a little bit. He's giving him some resistance, but not a lot, okay? So he's just getting the feel of rubbing his hips past the hips of the offensive blocker. All right? Hit. Okay? And the idea is to stay with the move Don't give up on it too soon. You force that move on that offensive guy. If he takes it away, he's giving you a counter move. So you want to get the good feel of doing that. We'll work that on both arms. So if we worked on the other side, it'd be here. Okay, the idea is he's already lead stepped, he's slapped, he's set the move up, his shoulders are in good position, his foot's back, and now it's sit, hip. Okay, now if you've seen the angle that he came off of that block, was the same thing we were training over here on the hoops. As he came off of that blocker, he was running the edge just like he did on that hoop over there. Okay, so there's some carryover. The thing I like about this drill is it's very simple now to teach the counter moves off of the base move or say our rip move in this type of a drill. Okay? So I want you to take the move away and I want you to go with a rip swim. So now he's set up in here and he's going to throw a rip, and the idea is he's going to sell that rip move. Okay? He's going to make that offensive player set on it and take it away. And when he does, the offensive player's weight, his distribution now is going down. So if I'm trying to lean against all that weight, he's leaning on me, I'm lifting up, we just end up sitting against each other and going nowhere. So if I get a good, he takes away, the idea now is I want to just release that arm and swim back over the top. And why fight all that weight? I mean, if I just took my arm out, he would probably fall down. All right, here we go. Sit, up, lift, and come out. Okay? You can teach, you can teach a spin move. You can teach a counter club where you come back. All those different moves you can teach by starting off with the basic drill just like we're doing here, okay? Let's do it from the other side one time. Again, the idea is he wants to step through and rip, boom. You know, he wants to sell that rip because if he doesn't take it away, that's the move you want to go with, okay? But you're selling the rip so hard, it's making this offensive man sit down. And he's taking it away, and now all we're going to do is counter it and come right back over the top, okay? Now again, we've been kind of just scratching the surface of a lot of these things, and what I really want to do is just kind of give you kind of an idea of what we do as far as run-wise, some drills that get us ready for that. It leads us right into some pass rush things. Obviously, we do things a lot higher tempo at times or against live bodies, or as Coach Gazzetto went over early, how we do our one-on-one pass rush drill, okay? But all those things kind of tie together. And it's how you set it up initially as far as, you know, what you want out of that stance needs to carry over to what you want out of your run technique, out of your pass technique, pass rush technique, all those different things.
How do you teach or practice reacting to counters and traps with your tackles or ends?
I'm the center. Okay, well, I think what the question pertained to was this guard's pulling, say on the counter, and the center's blocking back. Okay. Now, what we do on those type of schemes, we try to do it the situation by alignment or by if we're playing base technique. And we're saying we have a 3 technique outside shade of the offensive guard. We feel if that 3 technique is getting off the way he's supposed to, that is a hard block for that center to be able to block back and protect that backside 3. We get a lot of times a tackle will step down to try to help seal it and all that, or if the tackle's pulling the counter, we like that. We tell our 3 technique to do this. We want him to backdoor the center, grab and try to water ski off that guard and try to trail it and go make the play from the backside. Okay? What we want this center to have to do is we want to force him to block back so flat that it now opens up the ability for us to be able to club and cross the face of that guy. But that would only be an answer to how that center blocks back. Our first deal as a 3 technique is to backdoor any pull, we call a pull with a collision, that type of play. Now the next one that could come into play now is the same alignment. Okay, you're there. And now the tackle's here, and they want to pull the guard and block the tackle down in the 3 technique. He doesn't have to block down very far to get that. That's a good angle for the tackle to do that. So if he's pulling now across the face of our guy, we will now ask our guy to be able to, if we can feel it club and cross the face of that tackle blocking down, because he only has to go a short distance. Where if the center, if he's pulling away from you, the center's got a long way to go. This tackle doesn't have very far to go. So if it's one of the, he's pulling across my body, we give our guy what's called a 2-way go. Okay? Where now if the tackle's downfield, he can go behind it. If the tackle's really flat, he can club and cross the face. And that's really a feel. I mean, this individual right here was really good at it. You know, I mean, if they got a really tight split and he pulls, I mean, there's not much chance of beating that thing upfield. But the bigger the split or the better the get off. So again, anytime he pulls across my face, it's a two-way go. If he pulls away from me, we want to backdoor it. Okay?
Talk on your techniques for twisting and how you vary it for man and zone coverage for protection.
Okay. Really, what we try to do with our line movement package, which is really what that question pertains to as far as we're concerned, is we have two ways of doing our movement. One is we'll do it quick versus the run, and the other one is we'll delay it versus the pass. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure, you know, which one you want to know, but we kind of work that the same way we work our other drills with all those squares or on the cones. Okay. Let's say we want to run a game now with our 3 technique, and let's say it was our wide 5 on the weak side, let's say out here, and we wanted to bring, we were anticipating run, or we were anticipating some form of zone block. We wanted to get this first guy underneath the initial blocker and the other guy looping around. We would tell our outside guy to go just like you're running an individual movement, what we would term pinch, where he's coming right to the hip of that offensive guard. Okay, he's trying to get to the hip, to the backside, rear end of that guard. That's his aim point. Sit. Okay, that's where his aim point is initially. Now, we want to exchange the outside gap now with our inside player. If we're running a quick game, we want him to go now, and we want the looper, what we call the penetrator, to go first on the snap of the ball, and the looper to go initially on the snap of the ball. Because again, this is something we'd call in a run-pass situation. We weren't quite sure which one it's going to be. So again, sit. Hup, he comes down, and again, the looper, it's his responsibility to make the mesh. If I'm the looper here, and Dave's penetrating right there, I want to be able to come right off his rear end, and work right up the field, okay? And then react to the block that I get there. Now, if we want to be able to do that in a pure pass situation, or if we feel it's going to be a pass, or we get light stances by the offensive lineman, we don't really change the technique that we do. We just delay it and do it further up the field. The penetrator's aim point is still the rear end, the hip to the rear end of that lineman he's moving to. And the looper is still doing the same thing he's done, except we're just doing it up the field. All right, here we go. So say I'm the tackle. He wants to get me to back up and open up, sit, up, so we come up the field, and now it's the same type of movement, okay? So he would do that. What the looper is trying to do is force this inside player, because if it was a pass and I'm stepping up and they went quick, I mean, that's fairly easy on a pass for them to pick up. But if we delay it now, what we want to be able to do is, as he goes, he wants to, well, I'm not sure where he's going. Now, all of a sudden, he's around. That guy's got a chance to get through my hip and get to the next level. We can do the same thing with our 2 inside tackles. Same idea. You know, so that's kind of, and again, as far as man and zone schemes, I mean, we could, you know, if we're getting a zone where we may send our tackle first. You know, if we're getting this type of protection where he's sliding here, the tackle's sliding here, and the center's working front side. Okay, we'll roll a game with our 3 technique going first. Set. Up. Now he's driving here, and now we'll bring him underneath. So again, those are some of the different things we can do versus man zone. We can do them quick. We can delay them, and that really helps as far as run or pass situations. Okay, so hopefully that covered a little bit of something there.
What techniques and drills you use for cut blocks?
Excuse me?
Cut blocks?
Oh, like?
Yeah, down low.
We don't really do a lot of stuff with a cut block as far as body against a body. We've done some team drills where we, you know, have guys step over a bag and have fire guys out, you know, and use their hands. But the biggest thing is like a big ball or some type of thing where, you know, we'll use it in part of the sled. You know, that drill I was doing where they'll jam the sled and they'll come off and now I'll roll a ball at them. Well, they have to now, the idea is I want to be able to get my hands down. You know, if Dave was trying to cut me as an offensive blocker and I'm down and he's down, I want to be able to get my hands down here, what we call push level. I don't want to be here and taking on that low. I want to be down at that push level right here and be able to jam his body into the ground, get his head in the ground, step on him, do whatever I can do to make him play up at a higher level. So again, the thing, I've used bigger medicine balls, some kind of thing where they can move down the line, roll that ball at them, where they got to get their hands down and jam it. And those are the things that we'll do rather than have these 270, 280-pound guys just trying to take knees out all the time. So that's kind of the stuff we'll do versus working on cut blocks. Is that good?
Good.
Okay. People.
Hey, let's give Kevin a great hand. I got a couple quick announcements.